So let's go ahead and come around this corner here. So there are baskets. So just to show you, this is pretty much what normal run speed looks like, and this is what normal walking speed looks like. So fairly fast. So now we're gonna go ahead and grab a basket, and then this is just normal walking speed here. I'm not running, and if you look at the bottom left, you can see it says heavy item, heavy item, heavy item. And if we drop it, this is back to our normal walking speed. And then we pick it up and we slow down. You can see we're walking much slower. If I run, we're moving a little bit faster. If I let it go, we're running at top speed again. Hey guys, this is Techno Freak here, and welcome to my 4th episode on my Q&A series for Amnesia Rebirth. And today we're going to be answering another one of your questions that you've asked in my main series and in my Q&A series. And if you're unfamiliar with this series, this is pretty much just a series where I take your comments and I respond to them in a video format, not just so that you have a easier answer to your questions, but so that anybody else who also watches my videos and a subscriber can see the way we do things, and just helps everybody be more educated on the ways we do things. So if this is the first time you're watching a Q&A series, just note this is a bit less formal of an episode. I don't post any of the code in the description or anything like that. Just the links to the episodes that I reference in today's episode. So just a note about that, and also, yeah, we just kind of hang out here and answer some of your questions here. The question we're going to be talking about today, I'm a bit late to his question, but this is by Tunchin. He asked this a couple weeks ago, and he had a pretty loaded comment here with a bunch of questions. But a lot of the features he wants to implement are actually pretty cool, and I thought it'd be pretty cool to start working on some of these for him and just show you guys how it's implemented, or how I would implement it. A lot of these implementations I do are pretty much just the first thing that comes to mind. So I'll go ahead and put the comment on screen now. So the question, he has a few here, but I'm going to specifically talk about the one where he's asking about weight. So he's pretty much asking, when you carry a heavy object, he wants the character to react to the weight, so like slowing them down or whatever. So that's what he wants to implement. He wants to implement some kind of like a weight system in his custom story for certain objects. I'm going to show you the first way that pretty much came to mind on how to implement it. Of course, with a lot of things in programming and scripting in general, there are multiple ways to implement anything. So this is just one way. There might be a better way. There might be a better way that encompasses more things, but it might be more complicated. So this is just the first and simplest idea I had to respond to his question. So we might do his in parts. He has other good questions too. So in a different Q&A video, we might talk about one of his other questions, because they're actually pretty good. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be implementing a bit of a weight system. And what I'm thinking specifically is when we grab any one of these baskets, the player starts to slow down, and then when he releases it, his speed goes back up to normal, and that's kind of what we're looking for here. So that's what we're going to implement here. We're going to implement it with these baskets, just like I said, and I think it'd be pretty cool. So let's go ahead and talk about the implementation of it. So let's go ahead and go to our CodeLite application. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set, this is pretty much what I'm going to do. I'm going to set a callback, so that when the basket is interacted with by the player, we can run some code, and then that code that we run is going to be a pretty much a listener, a timer listener, that checks to see if the player is still holding the object, and when he is holding it, we'll lower the player's speed, and then when he releases it, we'll go ahead and cancel the listener, and until the next time that the player picks up the item. So what I'm going to do is on setup here, we're going to set up a callback, an interact player callback on that basket, on those baskets. So we'll do entity underscore set player, and it's going to be this one right here, set player interaction callback. And what this will do is we're going to interact with an object here. So we're going to use Wildcards here. That's episode 17. It was like half of an episode in episode 17. So if you need to reference Wildcards, I would check out episode 17. But pretty much we're going to reference multiple baskets at once based on their name. We're going to come back to this. We're going to skip this for a second now, but we'll come back to it. We're going to need to put the name of the function we want to call, the callback, here. And that's going to be, by convention, it's going to be on interact, and then underscore player. So the player is interacting with the basket. So we're going to just say basket. You can also say baskets if you want, or whatever, whatever you prefer. We're just going to say basket here. And then we'll do comma. And then the last option here is whether or not we want to remove the callback once it's run once. We don't want to do that. So we're going to set that to false. We don't want we don't want the callback to be removed once it's called already. We want it to keep running so that we keep checking for when the player is interacting with the object. So now let's go ahead and put in the name here. So I'm not going to explain too much on the wildcard thing here, but pretty much all of these, you see it says Bedouin Basket Wicker 1, and then there's 2, and then there's 3, and there's 4, and there's 5. And if we put any more and we use that default name throughout the level, it's going to just keep numbering them up by 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this name, and we're going to go back to our CodeLite application here, and we're going to paste it in here. What we're going to do for the part where the number is at, we're going to put a star instead. So that tells the game pretty much anything that has the name Bedouin Basket Wicker and then something after that, we want to include in this callback. So pretty much anything with that name following anything after that will be included in this callback and will be included in the weight in the player's weight when he grabs it. So we're including multiple things. And then now let's go ahead and put the callback here. So the callback, we're going to go down, and again, the format for the callback functions, we've done it before, so we could probably find it here. That would be episode 5. If you didn't see it, you might want to check out that episode. So it's the void on interact here. So this is the format for the function here. We're going to go ahead and grab it, and we're going to bring it down, and we're going to paste it right here. And we're going to head and rename this the same thing that we named this one up here. So we're just going to copy and paste this here. That's the name that we gave it. Let's scroll down. And then right here, we're going to go ahead and put that name there. So on interact player basket. So when the player interacts with it, what we want to do now is we want to start a timer that's going to constantly check to see if the player is holding the object. And when the reason we're doing that is because when you interact with the basket, it doesn't check to see if you let it go. It just checks to see if you interact with it. So what we're doing is pretty much we're going to tell it that okay, we're going to set a timer, and we're going to have the timer check to see if the player is still holding the basket. That's what the whole timer's for. And while he's holding it, we should keep applying a speed multiplier. And if not, we'll tell the game to release the multiplier and cancel the timer. So that's what we're gonna do here. So it'll make more sense when we type it up. So we're gonna go ahead and do map underscore add timer. And we're just going to give it a name. I'm just going to call it timer underscore check heavy item. And then we'll do comma space. And then now this is the amount of time until that timer runs. You could put a faster time here, but I find that usually 0.5 works pretty well, half a second. So every half a second, it will run this timer. And then when we're in the timer, we're going to have it reset every half a second as well. But you can change that to your liking if you want it to be checked more often. And next is the name of the timer function that we're going to run. So let's give it a name. We're going to say on timer, and then we're going to copy this name here, check heavy item. So check heavy item. And then we'll go ahead and close it out with a semicolon. And now we're going to go ahead and put the timer function. So we're going to put it right underneath here. So then that's going to be void on timer, and timers were episode 10, so you should reference that if you are unfamiliar with timers. So on timer, and then we're gonna make sure it matches the name. So on timer, check heavy item. I can yeah, I was gonna copy it, but probably fine. It looks like I didn't make any typos. And then we'll put parentheses, open and close. And we do have to put something in here by convention. We've had timers up here before, so I'm just going to copy the variables that go in here. So it's the as timer in there. All right, so now that we have the timer running, so now we're going to, the main thing we want to check is to see if the player is still holding the basket. And we want to keep checking it. And when he stops holding it, then we're going to release the speed on the player. So we're going to say if. We'll do our open close parentheses and our open close curly braces here. We're going to say player underscore is interacting. So if he's interacting with any object, then yes, he is holding this basket. And since we came from the on interact from the basket, we know he's holding the basket. So we know he's interacting, and what's he interacting with? It's obviously the basket, because that's where we came from. That's where the call came from. So what we're gonna do, if he is interacting, let's just print a message just to tell us that indeed he is interacting, just so we can visually see it. We'll just say like heavy item ... just so that we know he's interacting. And then we'll go ahead and put a semicolon there. And then we will now lower the player speed. So we're gonna say player underscore set move speed multiplier. So this is a multiplier between 0 and 1. So 0 means that they're not moving at all. 1.0 means that it's normal speed. So we're going to set it. You can set this to whatever you want, of course. I'm going to set this to 0.5, just F, so that it's pretty much half speed. So when he's holding it, he's going to be moving at half speed. And then let's go ahead and hit enter. And now we're going to go ahead and restart this timer. So we're going to say map restart current timer. And so we're going to check if he is holding a heavy item. We're going to lower his speed to 0.5. Then we're going to restart the timer, and we're going to check it again to see if the player is still holding the object after another half a second. So we're going to say 0.5 F. So after a half a second, we'll go ahead and check again if the player is still holding this object. So if he stops holding it, so the player's not interacting, we're going to say else. And then instead of restarting the timer or anything like that, we're just going to say player set move speed multiplier back up to 1.0, which is normal move speed. So that's pretty much it. So let's run through all this one more time. So when the game is starting up, we create a callback for all our baskets in the level. If you had multiple types of objects you want to add, you can just copy this, paste it right underneath, like right here. right underneath it, and then just create another one of these interact player baskets here, and like if it was something else, you just call it bottles or something. Bottle's not that heavy, but whatever your heavy object is, bottle. And then you can call the same timer here. You don't have to create another timer. You can call the same one here, unless you want like a special weight value for that specific object over this one here. With that, yeah, so let me just run through it one more time. That's what I was doing. So we create the callback when the level is starting up. The interact callbacks when the player interacts with the basket. We're going to call our function here. That function is right down here, where we say, okay, so when the player interacts with the basket, we want to start a timer in half a second. So then we go ahead and go into our onTimer function here. And what we do is we check if the player is currently interacting with an object. That object obviously will be the basket, because we came from the interact player basket function. We'll print a message that just says heavy item. We'll lower his speed halfway, so 50%. And then we will restart this timer so we can check again if he's still holding the object in half a second. And then otherwise, if he's not holding the object, if he's not interacting with the object, we're going to set his speed back up to 1.0, which is normal speed, and his speed should go back to being what it was before. So that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and run our game and check it out. All right, so here we are in our level. So let's go ahead and come around this corner here. So there are baskets. So just to show you, this is pretty much what normal run speed looks like. And this is what normal walking speed looks like. So fairly fast. So now we're gonna go ahead and grab a basket. And then this is just normal walking speed here. I'm not running. And if you look at the bottom left, you can see it says heavy item, heavy item, heavy item. And if we drop it, this is back to our normal walking speed. And then we pick it up and we slow down. You can see we're walking much slower. If I run, we're moving a little bit faster. If I let it go, we're running at top speed again. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And we can also grab another basket. It doesn't have to be that one. And you can see that our speed also slows down here. And when we drop it, we speed up and everything. So that's pretty much it. Pretty cool implementation. You can put it in for every item you want to have weight to. And from here you can go crazy too. You can add like global variables so that there's a set weight for like baskets, there's a set weight for like other stuff, and that way you can like specify how much the player gets slowed down per thing. So you can have a little play with it, have some fun with it, and see what you guys can do with it. So with that, I'll wrap up the episode. Thanks a lot for your support, guys. Make sure you leave comments letting me know what questions you need answered in the main series. If you have any questions or you're not understanding anything in the main series, I'd be more than happy to help out and maybe elaborate in a Q&A for you guys. So with that, have a good day, guys. Bye.